What was your training like in the CIA?
Think bad thoughts, all right? War, pestilence, and death and disease.
So first question, what kind of music do you listen to?
Okay, that caught me off guard a little bit. Well, maybe you don't realize this, but I actually spent all summer, this past summer, creating a Spotify playlist of the 700 best feel-good songs and the 300 best sad songs. And so here's what I'll say. With 1,000 songs on that playlist, it's hard for me to narrow it down to 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. But if I had to narrow it down to, let's say, a few bands that influenced me as I was growing up, everybody knows that Mr. Goldkind loves Genesis and Phil Collins and Peter Gabriel. They were members of the band. Everybody knows that I love Duran Duran, not just because my ex-girlfriend appeared in one of their videos in 1984. Everybody knows that I like Depeche Mode because I was into that sort of, I don't know, dark music during a dark phase in my life. I have eclectic tastes.
Okay, now this is a student-submitted question.
Oh,
what was
specifically for me?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
What was your training like in the CIA?
Interesting. Well, here's the thing. I assume what that young person is referring to is the fact that occasionally in my classes, I mentioned to the kids that they should not attempt to deceive me because I was trained by the CIA in terms of the art of deception. Of course, as you know, if I was trained by the CIA, then the fact that I've even mentioned it is probably something I should not have done. But I certainly can go no further other than to say very few students attempt to deceive me because of my extensive training by the CIA. And I will leave it at that, and hopefully I will not disappear in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, now top 4 movies of all time and why?
Interesting. Again, I spent the other part of my summer making a list of my top 250 films of all time. But I can tell you that I've had the same favorite 3 or 4 for the last 25 years or so this won't be difficult. Jerry Maguire, Tom Cruise, because the story is about an agent, a lawyer, who has an epiphany about his place in the universe and how he wants to have a different place in the universe, how he wants to lead a different life. And quite frankly, for me, that's almost an autobiographical description of how I felt when I was moving from my career in law to my career in teaching. Also, there's a connection to Lawrence Park as far as the cinematography. And I'll leave it at that. Some of the kids know what I'm referring to. My second favorite film is called Magnolia, by coincidence, also starring Tom Cruise. And the film showcases a series of people living interesting lives in Los Angeles and how, in the end, all of those lives are interconnected in some way. And because I believe in the 6 degrees of separation notion, that we're all connected to somebody through someone in some way, I found that film to be a really interesting philosophical discussion on how, in the end, we all have some connection to one another on this planet. My third film was a film from the late 70s. My third favorite film was a film from the late 70s called Breaking Away, about 4 young teenage boys or men who had just graduated from high school and now had to make up their mind as to what they were going to do with the rest of their lives. And because they were living in a small town in Indiana, they didn't really have a lot of opportunities. And so they basically just spent that summer following graduation trying to figure out where their place was in the universe. And because when I saw that film, I was at the same basic point in my life, I always sort of connected with that film, and so I always loved that film. And then, to be honest, the fourth film, because I was really hoping we would stop at 3, the fourth film could be any of the other hundreds and hundreds of films that I've watched in my lifetime. Although I should mention, I want this to stay in the film, I did just see a film called You Are So Not Invited to My Bar Mitzvah, and even though I know that from a technical point of view, from a writing point of view, from an acting point of view, it may not exactly be Academy Award worthy, it was filmed right around the corner at Bathurst and Eglinton. I know a lot of kids who appeared in the film as extras. Also, I relate to the film for a whole bunch of different reasons, and I will say I found that film incredibly entertaining, and again, I use a lot of those dialogue pieces in my accounting class when things get kind of dry.
Cool, great answer.
Thank you.
So, what do you like to do outside of work?
Interesting. Well, when I was younger, I used to do a lot of things, but to be honest, as I got older and I got, I don't know, just sort of busy with life, with marriage and kids and, other sort of adult problems that entered my life, I sort of gave up on a lot of my hobbies. And so, to be honest, Erica, today I don't do a lot of things outside of school because, one, I just don't have the time. Two, I just don't have the patience. Three, I'm not always physically healthy enough to do what I want to do. For example, I used to golf a lot, but if I tried to golf today, I would probably, I'd probably walk away with a hernia and a slip disc, and I wouldn't be in this building for the next 3 weeks. So, out of safety concerns, if nothing else, I'm probably going to, to do as little as possible outside of the building, and that's because my job in this school involves a lot of extracurriculars and involves a lot of, I guess like guiding people. And so if I were only teaching my classes at Lawrence Park, literally showing up, doing accounting, etc., and then going home, then I would be bored. But because, and I think you know this because you're in one of my clubs, because I do spend a lot of time on extracurriculars, and I do spend a lot of time helping kids, for example, with some of their issues in life, as you watched as we were readying for this interview. I, quite frankly, am very busy with that alone. And so I know this sounds odd, but my extracurriculars is basically the extracurriculars that I offer in the school because that is what I want to do. And quite frankly, I enjoy that more than golfing. And if I went to a beach in Hawaii tomorrow, I'd probably get bored after a day or two. And if I played golf tomorrow, I'd probably be bored after a couple of holes. But I don't get bored with what I do in the school because I make a conscious decision to be a good teacher, and I feel good about myself when I do it, and I feel helpful and useful. And so if that's an extracurricular or if that's a hobby, then it is. And if it isn't, I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Okay, so what is the best and worst memory you have working at Lawrence Park?
Okay, now, to be fair, I've only been here for about 2 years and 2 months, right? That said, best memory. Okay, tell you what, I won't say that I have one specific best memory, but I will say this. I do occasionally receive, as I did in my previous schools that I worked at for many more years, I do occasionally receive emails from students who have since graduated and who are essentially saying thank you for some of the things that I helped them with while they were in school. And I have to say, honestly, like it hits me emotionally. It actually makes me feel like, I made the right choice 25 years ago when I left my previous career and came to this career. It gives me purpose. It gives me a reason to come to school the next day and the next day and the next day. And you know what? It really shows that there are some really good people in the world, not me, but the kids who I've helped, and the fact that they take that time and energy to write me a one-page thank you letter. It says a lot to me about who they are, and also about what my purpose is in life, what my role is in life. So when that has happened at this school, I have to say that gives me the greatest sense of satisfaction. As far as my worst memories, okay, and again, this happens more than once or twice. Listen, I sometimes have to talk to kids in a way that I don't want to talk to them, meaning I have to say, I'm not happy with your behavior, I'm a little disappointed in you. And quite frankly, when I do that, and maybe the kids don't believe me, but I actually go home sometimes and I feel bad because I don't want to make other people unhappy. But sometimes in my job, I have to tell people, this is the line. You can't go past the line. You can't cross the line. And so when I do that, I actually sometimes feel like, now I feel crummy because I didn't want to be the bad guy. I don't want to be the heavy. And when I have to do it because it's my job to do it, that doesn't fill me with the same, joy and happiness that my everyday experiences often do here at the school. But I know it's a necessary evil. I know that sometimes that has to be done. I just wish that it wasn't me.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much.
I don't know what's so funny.
Hey LP, if you have any questions or requests for future interviews, be sure to submit them through the Google form on LPTV's Instagram bio.